This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome back to the Hockeytown West Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I'm Nick.
But happy Tuesday, sir. How are you doing, man?
Disappointed. I wish
Why?
we would have got this game tonight. Cleveland, it's so crazy, but yeah. Had a good day off. Ready to watch some hockey. Ready to talk some hockey.
Yeah, it's true. We do have the Red Wings on. I think you have it on your TV, right?
I did, and I turned it off.
That's fair. Yeah, you get distracted easily.
That just spanned is 5 seconds, so.
The Wings are playing the Oilers, and the Griffins just wrapped up playing the Cleveland Monsters down in Cleveland. And as Nick alluded to, it was an unfortunate result as they dropped this one in the shootout. Third game in a row with a freaking shootout.
So
Legitimately cannot take this anymore.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, we have not had this many shootouts. Won 3 in a row, and it's like we didn't have that in the beginning of the season. I think we only had like 1 or 2 sprinkled in there. And now it's just, I don't know what the guys are doing. I just turn it on in the third period to try to tie it, take it to shootout. It's not a good game plan.
I mean, they're a third period team, clearly. I mean, they continue to play extremely well in the third. They start off okay. The second period's rough, at least right now. And the third period's just some of the best hockey they could ever play. And then overtime, they play well. And then the shootout, it's a guessing game at this point. It could be either team. I mean, when you're playing a team like Cleveland with some of the shooters they have, it's not the place you want to be at, unfortunately. Not that we don't have shooters on our team, but Cleveland's got some shooters.
I mean, yeah, it's tough. And I did my run this morning, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, we play Cleveland today. Trafix Wolanski, how many points is he going to end up getting tonight on us? And I mean, we did a pretty good job of shutting him down until the shootout.
Yeah, I mean, they kept him off the score sheet for the entire game. He does get a goal in the shootout, which Trafix Wolanski one-on-one with your goaltender. It 9 times out of 10, it's gonna end up in the back of the net. Like, he's an incredible player. He's what Cleveland's all-time scorer. Like, he's no slouch by any means. But to keep him off the score sheet in the game when they weren't playing top-tier hockey, the Griffins weren't, like, that's an accomplishment, I guess we can say that. I think we kind of kept most of their big guys off the score sheet except for Meyer. You know, he got his 19th goal of the season. But outside of that, a lot of the guys who usually cause us problems were silenced tonight, which is good.
I mean, this game it started really weird, to be honest with you. Like, the Griffins came out in the first period and just took it to them. There was at one point it was like 7 or 9 shots to 3. And then Cleveland got on the board, like not on the board, but they started putting some pressure on the last 3 minutes of the period to really bring it to the Griffins. So, like, I mean, they start so well in a like second period as they just kind of showed up, like that's what we've been seeing. And I thought Cleveland outplayed them that second period, which, I mean, they did score 2 goals on us. And one was like that first period went by pretty fast. It was a pretty quick period. I mean, 2 penalties. Yeah, one on Yerchuk as well for Cleveland, but it went really fast. I think it only took like 20 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
which is pretty fast. But the second seemed like it took forever. I mean, there was a lot of penalties, and then you had the goal being reviewed that took forever. But yeah, I think defensively, like, we just did not play well in that second period. And I thought Cleveland really outplayed us, but even the shots, Grand Rapids had 14-12.
Yeah. I mean, so let's dive into it a little more here. So the first period, like you said, the Griffins did come out strong. They outshot Cleveland 10-7 in that period. They did fall back a little bit, but keeping them scoreless in that one was good, low in the penalty count. In the second period, it seems like all hell broke loose. Like, I didn't get to watch this full game, unfortunately. Work got in the way tonight. You were covering the game tonight. Thank you again for that. But, I mean, lots of penalties, lots of roughing, and I know one Mr. Zach Aston Reese absolutely killed a guy. Like,
yeah,
God.
I saw this. He lined this up perfectly. Just trucked a guy right into the boards. It was fantastic. And I'm like, I don't know how they didn't call a penalty on him, which looking back, I turned the sound off on this game because Bob wasn't there. He's covered the wings. It was tough to listen to for Cleveland. And the other thing that's really tough to watch the Cleveland games is that they'll be playing and then all of a sudden they cut to review. Like while the
Oh God, I
gameplay is
hate that.
going. So it's like, okay, what happened? Well, what's going on? Why are you playing replays while the game is going on? Like while we're in a crucial moment of play, they cut it right to replay. So like it was tough to follow. It's even tougher for me to follow, uh, as somebody who has a short attention span. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember the Didier came in and I can't remember. He was cleaning up. I clipped it. Um, so it's out there on Twitter, but he came in after and like really roughed a guy up. I can't remember why. Um, but yeah, I mean it got chippy. And I think that's really like the key part of the game is Grand Rapids had 6 power plays and didn't convert on any of them.
Yeah.
Cleveland had 3 and they didn't convert on any of them either. Like it was just that that's the game right there. If they would have converted on 1 or 2 of those, boom, there we are. But a lot of times, like Grand Rapids was going down and they couldn't get anything set up, just nothing. Uh, in that second period, it was tough for both teams to be able to get anything going.
Yeah, I mean, that's what stood out to me. Like I said, I didn't get to see the full game. I got to catch the end of it, but seeing 0 for 6 on the power play, I mean, or keeping Cleveland to 0 for 3 on the power play was good, but 0 for 6, like in a game that goes to a shootout, that's not good. Like that's going to be the topic of conversation, I'm sure, in practice for the rest of this week leading up to playing against Cleveland again this Friday at home. Like hopefully power plays is in the practice log there for them. Like that can't happen. We can't let that happen. And that's been like a thing that's ongoing like this whole season. Like they get really good and then they get really cold, then they get really good, and we're back to 0 for 6, which usually it doesn't last long, which is good. I don't think this will last long either. I mean, Cleveland's penalty kill is not like top of the league by any means. So it's really weird to see that. And it is a short turnaround from Saturday to Tuesday for them, which, according to some of them, that's what they like. They don't like that long waiting period, right? But it looks like they did come out a little flat footed in this one, except for dominating Cleveland. But your special teams going that bad, you can't have that and expect to win a game, especially one that's this close against a team that every game this season has been so darn close, except for when we blew them out on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's the only one, a 5-1 game, and then the other one was the puck incident, right?
We don't talk about the puck incident. We don't talk about that. Like we don't talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about the puck incident. Dang it. But I mean, the third period came around. I mean, they go into that. They're down 2-0, and you know what to expect with the Griffins in the third. They're going to turn on everything they possibly can, outshoot Cleveland 12-8 in this one. And, 2 important players in this team score goals to tie this game up. So you obviously had Jonathan Berggren gets his 15th of the season. Guy's he's having too much fun right now, man. Like, there's no way. He's playing some incredible hockey.
He just snipes this puck too. Like the pace of play in the third period was nuts. It was back and forth. It was like me and Travis were talking. It's a lot like Toledo, like just back and forth, 4-on-3, 3-on-4. Like it was just continually going back and forth between on both sides of the ice. So, I mean, this one, Bergie's shot just from like the half circle. I don't know if Jack Greaves was screened on this or what, but he gets it from a little past that face-off circle and just rips it into that top right. It was a beautiful goal, and it's not something like we've seen recently with Bergie either.
Yeah, I mean he can snipe the puck, man. Like that's what it all boils down to is he can snipe it. And remind you, Jet Greaves is no slouch of a goaltender either. We picked on him a lot last season, but the kid is having an incredible year this year in Cleveland. He was an AHL All-Star. He's playing some fantastic hockey. I mean, tonight was his 31st game of the season he's played. Like they are just riding this goaltender this season, and he's still got a 2.94 goals against and a .906 save percentage. Like he's playing really well. He's almost faced 1,000 shots this season.
Well, we
It
gave him
might be
42
one of the
tonight.
highest. Yeah, it might be one of the highest shots against stats in the close. There's a guy with 1,000, so he's close. He's close to the top there. But for Berge to be able to snipe it like that, and maybe he had some practice during the All-Star weekend. Maybe he got some practice on him, and he was able to do that there. But then the next guy that scores for Grand Rapids is a guy we've been looking to get back on the score sheet here. He's been playing really sound defensively, but we're waiting for that offense to kind of click again. And Antti Tuomisto, assisted by Lombardi and Spezia, he hits himself his 4th of the season, and what a little goal for him. It's nice to see him get back in the goal column.
Yeah, this was an absolute snipe too from the other side, on the other side of the ice. I had just finished getting the Berge goal up there, and then Antti scores during that time. So, yeah, just another snipe, face-off circle right around that same dot, or the other side of the ice, on that side. But it was crazy because I'm like, oh, do we see a comeback now with the Berge goal? And then 2-0 ties it while I'm posting that one, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Like there was only a little less than 4 minutes left in the game. And I'm like, can we seal it here? Can we get this win and, get on with it?
Yeah, I mean, there was about 1 minute and 10 seconds apart there to get the game tied with about 5 minutes left in the game. Like, that's sick. That's exactly what they needed to do. But yeah, this was it's a sucky result at the end, right? You see a comeback like that, you go to overtime, and nothing really happens in overtime besides Grand Rapids put 6 shots on goal in overtime. They just couldn't find the back of the net, and that's 6 shots on goal. I think they missed the net about 6 more times on top of that. Like, they had possession for almost the full time. They did have a power play in overtime, so that does help.
Yeah.
And Trey Fix-Wolanski is the one that ended up in the box on that penalty there, so that also helps when you remove him from the ice in a 3-on-3 situation. But they can't close the deal there. Shootout happens. Tim Gettinger goes first, and I think the coach understands that Tim Gettinger might be a shootout specialist as he scores. Like he said, he didn't know he had that in him in the first shootout of the weekend. I think he's solidified himself at least as the first or second shooter easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even see it go in. I was super confused because I'm watching it. He doesn't celebrate. There's no celly on it. There's no announce. Well, I didn't have the sound on. So, but it didn't look that he had scored. They didn't have the e-bug on there either, so I can't tell where we're at with the shooters and the goals. So, for me, I didn't even clip it because I didn't know it even went in.
I don't know what I hate more, is Rockford's camera angle when we're watching away games there, or Cleveland's just entire setup. I can't decide.
Or Belleville. That was the other one that I was like, I just don't know if I can do this anymore with these two teams.
Hey, man, low budget when there's only 800 people in the seats, okay?
Was that it?
Sorry. It was something like that. It felt like the first night there. But obviously, Gettinger scores. Trey Fix-Wolanski is up next for Cleveland. He beats Hutch. That's not a surprise there. Amadeus Lombardi goes second for Grand Rapids. He can't get past Greaves there. That's unfortunate. It was not a crazy move or anything. He kept it pretty simple, but he couldn't get past him. And then Pythia goes for Cleveland. He scores, puts all the pressure on Berggren, and Berggren gets it just wide. Or hits the post. I'm sorry. He hit the post on that one. And Cleveland walks away with a win here. And yes, it sucks. The road winning streak's over. They couldn't extend it to a franchise record 8 wins. It would have been a franchise record.
Jeez.
But on the positive side, the point streak continues. They've gotten a point in the last 10 games now in a row, which, seeing some of the teams we've played against, that's pretty impressive. Remember, Cleveland's the top of their division. Like, this isn't a nobody team that we're walking in and playing with on a Tuesday night, because they only play Grand Rapids on Tuesday nights in Cleveland. But
yeah,
to have back-to-back games against these guys, and we got a point, and now we have the opportunity to go steal 2 more on Friday. Out-of-division games, these are important, especially when your entire division's also playing on the same night, except for one team. Which, unfortunately, those games don't look that they've gone in our favor either. But
well, it did. The Rockford game.
Oh!
Rockford won, so they came back and won in overtime. So that did help us.
The Texas and us stay tied again.
Yeah, they got the point. So that didn't work. But Milwaukee went on that was 15.
15 wins in a row now. Like, I've got to tip my cap to them, man. Like, that's freaking impressive. I hope we're the team that gets to crush it I hope we are. I love nothing more than that. But also, we don't play them for a while, so please lose between now and
I'm sure
then.
they will.
Right. But I mean, overall, like, who stood out to you? Who stood out to you tonight for Grand Rapids? Like, who was that guy that you're like, yep, player of the game for Grand Rapids?
Oh,
I know
I
I put
had
you
a
on the spot.
non-player of the game, to be honest with
We'll
you.
get there.
Um, Elmer had
Here,
a couple good opportunities tonight, to be honest with you. Being open, I mean, Elmer played a good game tonight. Your other one, I would say, is maybe, yeah, I would say Elmer played a good game. That stood out. That play that he had made. I think Taro was there too. Um, to give him an open opportunity, like one-on-one with the goalie in the middle of the ice. So that was a good opportunity in the offensive zone. But yeah, like it's hard for me to say who actually played well, um, because the bad really stood out to me. You know.
we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, I'm glad you called out Elmer because in the little bits and pieces I was able to catch because I definitely had it up on my phone while I was still working and trying to watch a little bit. But I noticed Elmer. He was noticeable in the little bits I was catching, and usually before in a full game, it was hard to notice him. So seeing him in just bits and pieces and still seeing that he was standing out, not just because he's tall, but like seeing that he was out there making the right plays, and he's been super consistent lately.
Yeah.
I'm glad you called that out because I think he is playing some really good hockey. Someone asked you before the game, is like this the consistent streak he starts to kind of get back in that NHL conversation? And granted, he's not NHL ready right now by any means, but it's giving me hope that something's not lost there, that there still is potential for him to become that guy again. So if he continues this through the end of the season, that's a discussion we'll have in our end of season recap is where does he stand? But if he plays like this through the rest of the year into the playoffs and makes an impact, it's a conversation I'm open to having. Another guy I wanted to point out because he did get an assist tonight. He got in the score sheet. He's a +1, and that was William Vollinder. You know, I think he's a guy who's really turned it on lately, and I think he's kind of going silently unnoticed as he's usually on the second or third pairing most of the time, the third pairing. But he's extremely sound when he's on defense with the puck, but he's starting to find his offensive upside too. And if your third pairing defenseman is generating points every other or every 2 games, you're in a good spot. Like that's not a bad thing at all. But now on the opposite end of that spectrum, when we're talking defensemen, one of them had a rough game, really rough game.
Yeah.
And who was that, sir?
Yeah, I would say tonight, like I was screaming at my TV tonight. Simon Edmondson did not play very well at all. There was a couple of times, like there was one that he turned it over in the defensive zone, and the guy just ripped the shot back at Hutchinson. And I'm like, if he's in the NHL and he does that, that's a goal. Like that's a goal right against us. There's no way that our goalie saves that. Uh, the other play that stood out is like he either broke I think he broke his stick and or he lost it. He's skating back and it's like 2-on-1, 3-on-1, and he's going for a change and he's just very slow, da 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 da, just skating back in La La Land. And I'm like, you need to get off the ice or grab a stick. Like, let's go. You've got numbers coming against you. And at that point, we were down 2-0. Like that could have been a game deciding goal right there of being over. So I think he's still like not playing a full 60 minutes, and it's just driving me nuts that nobody else is seeing this and nobody else is like mentioning this. It drives me nuts. It's like he has these like brain farts throughout the game of like, am I here? Am I not? Like I don't know what he's doing. I don't know.
It's a concern.
His attention span is like mine, I'd say. Like, it's very
Oh
short.
God.
I guess
Oh
I
no,
don't
we're
know what else
screwed.
to say. Like it's not he's not there. I mean, I think on the flip side, like Bergie played a great game, and he's like one of those people that kind of gets grouped in with Simon of like, is he giving it his all? Yeah, I would say Bergie's like giving everything to this team right now. Like he's really stepped up into that role and he's really like trying. I mean, we needed a goal and he got us one, to put us within one. So, like, to see Simon just being lackadaisical still in the back, like, it drives me nuts. And that was like one of his big things against him too in the draft is like he has all the confidence in the world he could do it, but he doesn't do it. Like he
Just
hasn't been
reminds me
able
of
to.
someone.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like it drives me nuts. It stands out so much to me, and that's not what you want to do when you're when you're a defenseman is stand out, right?
It reminds me of a player, and I don't want to say the name, and I know you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Martin Frick.
No, Anthony Mantha.
I know.
It's the same thing I saw at Grand Rapids all throughout his development. These incredible games where he blows your mind, and then these games where he's standing there and you're just like, what the hell are you doing? What is going on? And yet there's still the question mark around who, if need be, gets a call up between him or Johansson on defense. I'm sorry, the more I see this, the more it's time to give Albert that turn at some point, man. Simon can't keep doing this stuff because that's the stuff that's going to stick around. Like you can make mistakes, you can have rough games. Every player is going to have a rough game. You're not going to be perfect.
Right.
But when it's something, when it's a difference of skill and will, like, are you really trying your hardest? That's a concern. And like you said, Bergie, we had question marks around Bergie's attitude and want to be here in the beginning of the season. There's no question marks around that anymore. This kid wants to be here. He wants to win when he's here. He wants to be in Detroit, obviously, but while he's here, he's giving it 150% every night, day in, day out. Simon Edmondson, there'll be nights where he's giving 110%, and there's nights where he's at 75.
Yeah, it's.
I don't understand. And I mean, is there a small injury we don't know about? Maybe. I mean, we're just two dudes talking about this. It could be nothing. It could be something, but it's noticeable.
Very noticeable. I mean, even in our group chat, like somebody else had said the same thing. It's like it's just I don't understand what it is. Like, why does he not shake this like reputation off? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if somebody said this about me, like I would try harder to prove them wrong. You know what I mean? But he just kind of like checks in, checks out. Like, I thought he was going to
God,
the
he's
bench
gonna
to get
come
a
up.
stick. I literally
He's
thought he
gonna.
was going to the bench to get a stick, and he just switched off, and I'm like, bro, you're leaving your team out to dry.
So did he not get off the ice, or did he just?
He did. He got off the ice, but I was like, I thought he was going to get a stick because he broke it. So that was my thing of like, okay, if he's skating and he's getting a stick, he's going to join play. But no, he got off the ice, and they had already
Was it like an
crossed the blue
appropriate
line.
time for a line? Oh, so they already crossed into our zone,
Oh
and he's
yeah,
just like, "Yay, bye."
yeah. I'll see if I can find it again, and I'll send it to you. But I was just like, what the heck is going on here?
I mean, granted, we're both not players. We don't know the process, but at the same time, if NHL 23 and 24 taught me anything, you don't change lines when the other team's in your zone.
Yeah.
Coach gets mad.
Yeah,
But again, like it's not just that one line change, right? It's a lot of things. It's a lot of when he's on the ice, you're just kind of like you're not Ovechkin. You can't just stand in the circle and wait for the puck. Like that's not how this works. You gotta go towards it and play and get to your position. You gotta play your position and chase the man down with the puck. And there's a lot of waiting recently. And I don't know. He had that game against Belleville. He drops the gloves and get a great game in that one. He had a great game after that. And the past couple have just been meh.
Yeah.
And then here's
What
what we
he's
hope
waiting
for: is we talk some smack and boom, Friday night he lights it up, 4 points, couple goals.
I hope so.
Just saying.
Maybe
But
he just plays better at home. I don't know.
maybe he just doesn't like Cleveland. Outside of that, man, any other final thoughts on tonight's game?
I was surprised that Hutchinson started. I thought Kosa was going to start this game, to be honest with you. I thought that was an
Like Ghost started the
interesting.
last game.
I don't know. I just felt like it would have been Kosa's night tonight. Hutchinson didn't look great, but he didn't look bad. The goals, I have to like really dissect them a little bit more. But they won they went around. It was the goal that was reviewed was really weird. So the
It
goal
was
post
really weird.
Yeah, the goalpost was off before they entered, like while they entered the zone. So I don't know if they were talking about uh, because the goalpost was off, or if it was the hand pat, like the knockdown from Albert. So I don't know what they were reviewing,
It would be
but
the goalpost off, I can only assume. And the post was not on its mooring before when they entered the zone.
yeah, like there wasn't I didn't see that there was a kickoff or anything for him to be able to like to adjust it from the angle that I saw. So he had like came in on the side and then kind of went around Hutch and then shot it in, and the goal was like wide open. So
Did he
I have
tuck it in by like that post or no?
no, he went far post. So which was, I mean, the angle was way better there because the post was crooked. So he was able to get a better shot on it. I did
Than
clip
that.
it, so it is there, but that was a weird, I don't know what Hutch was doing on that one, because then the other one looked kind of the same too, of like he was just kind of out of position. I don't know if he was just out of position or didn't track it well. I don't know. It was just like two open net goals, basically.
Yeah. I just kind of looking at it while you were talking there. I mean, that he does kind of put it over there. I don't know. That's a weird review. I understand why it took so long, but in my experience of watching hockey, usually if the post is off, the play is
Plays
dead.
dead. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I don't know.
another controversial goal for Cleveland game.
Classic. Who would have thought Friday night can only be a thriller?
Oh jeez.
Oh man, yeah. No other final thoughts from me in this one here. Like I said, it's a bummer that they'll lose this way, but getting a point is crucial. Every point matters, and extending that point streak to 10 games in a row, it's huge. And we're still tied with Texas going into this weekend, so I'll take that all day. Honestly, I'm excited for what's to come here. The Griffins have 2 games coming into this weekend. They have at home Friday against Cleveland and Saturday on the road in Rockford. So crucial games again. We assume Coast will get the start here in Grand Rapids on Friday, and can assume that Hutch will get the start on Saturday in Rockford, which I'm okay with the way that's going to line up there. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. Should be fun games, and like you said, against Cleveland, it's always something. It's always something. Well, we got to pivot to this real quick here
To
and
this
talk
ad break.
about the news this week. So before we hit the
Oh,
ad break, there was 2 roster changes that were announced for Grand Rapids. And one of them is kind of important to us to talk about real quick, because we interviewed a guy on Sunday, Amadeus Lombardi. In case anybody didn't know, it's not like we haven't told everybody we know and talked to about this podcast that we interviewed the guy. Great interview. Had a great time. And at one point in the interview, he mentioned, Nolan Stevens being a mentor. And then all of a sudden it was the news broke right after we were done. Literally right after. Is that the Griffins were terminating his contract or putting him on waivers with the intention to terminate Nolan Stevens' contract. And we both went, uh-oh. Because with all the hockey world right now, your instant thought, unfortunately, when something like this happens, you instantly go, he did something bad. Oh, God.
yeah.
But at the same time, we've always talked about how good this organization is, and we know like stuff like that really doesn't occur. But at the same time, not to implicate Amadeus in anything, since he mentioned Stevens was a mentor to him off the ice, just to be safe, we held off that interview release until 8 o'clock Monday night, just to be safe, just to look out for him and the team in case we needed to change anything. So that's why that one came out a little late. But it was just found out that Nolan Stevens and the team just mutually agreed to part ways. He wasn't getting playing time, and I respect it. I think he thought he was going to come in and play a little bit bigger role in this team. And I think we all kind of thought he did too. And then Steve just kind of kept signing people, moving people, and everything happened the way it did. And, the no hard feelings, it sounds like, between the team and him. And he's already found a landing spot. Literally the next day after that's announced, gets signed to go back to the Utica Comets and play with them, where he'll play a much bigger role than what he would have played here. It is unfortunate. I think I started to like him a little more on the ice. He was doing more. He started off the season really quiet, didn't really produce more. Past 2 games he did play, he did produce. And then hearing that he was like a mentor off the ice, you're like, oh man, that kind of sucks for the kids. But at the same time, good for Nolan. He found a spot. It's not like he's just out there floating in the air. And I don't think we'll run into him unless we play Utica in the playoffs somehow. But who knows? It's crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah, that Sunday was just absolutely insane. Cause like we do the interview, we're like stoked. We're like, yeah, like that was we thought it went really well. Like thank you again, Amadeus, for coming on. And the questions were really good. I mean, that's what he had mentioned with us. And then like 2 minutes after, like we see the report from Tyler and from MLive, and we're like, what do we do with this? And so I mean, we wanted to do the right thing, and we reached out to the team, and we're like, "What do you want us to do?" And they're like, "Just do whatever you want." It's like
That's where
we're
we
like,
should have known it wasn't bad. And that's where we kind of had the idea of like, okay, this isn't bad.
yeah. Did you have 2 edits ready or no?
Oh, 100%.
Just
100%.
in
I was
case,
ready.
like,
I was so ready. Because, like,
so
again, like I said, we didn't want to implicate Amadeus in anything. Because if something had happened off ice and he's talking about how he's been a mentor off ice, I was like, oh, God, we're not putting the kid in this position.
yeah, it was tricky because you could like went that way with it. I went a complete different way with it. And I'm like, well, like this might help him, so who knows? So, but it's weird. I feel like it's weird timing for players to leave right now. While we're on a winning streak, while we're geared for hopefully playoffs. It is strange to me, but at the same point, like if you want to play and you're not getting the time, like all right, it makes sense to leave it. He's played there a lot, so I was like, figured that maybe
Yeah,
that's
he's played in
probably
Utica
why.
before, and he's been a part of that organization before. So I'm not surprised to see him go back there and obviously find a landing spot there. You just hope he gets what he wanted out of the deal. And at the same time, you're like, we've talked multiple weeks now, like when Matt Luff comes back, when Joel Esperance comes back, what does this lineup look like? And if we're talking about it, the bottom six guys are sitting there going, what does that mean for me? So like it's it sucks at the same time, but it's good that it ended mutually and everything it is what it is now. And
It
then
wasn't worst case scenario.
no, exactly. And then today, thinking it's gonna be a nice quiet Tuesday, right? Uh you text me while I'm working and you're like, should I post a Jared news? And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? So I called you and you tell me Jared McIsaac was reassigned to the Swiss League. Like what? I
Yeah,
did not expect that.
this was crazy. The wording on it is strange, and Twitter kind of blew up with this, like all of the Red Wings um, pages and everything. But reassigned, so not terminated, leaves the door open for him to come back. I mean, he's only played 15 games. He's got what 4 points. It's not much. He's dealt with injuries, so it's hey, you're not getting playing time. We have people in the wings like ready to come up. Detroit's deep on defense right now, which has been like probably the biggest complaint that everybody has right now, which is weird, right? And then Grand Rapids is deep on defense as well. So it's like, hey, if you want your chance, you want to go play, get your playing time, get some development, go over to the Swedish league.
Yeah, it's not our place to speculate and go, "Oh, what does this mean?" or anything like that. And what all we can say to what it means is Jared McIsaac's not on the Griffins currently. He's going to play in the Swiss League. He's going to get playing time over there. I mean, for a defenseman who was a second round pick, he's only 23 years old. Like, he's got plenty of hockey left in him. Either this is a go find your game over there. If you can establish yourself on international ice, you should be able to, figure it out here as well. But at the same time, it could also be, hey, we don't have space for you. We don't see, this fitting into what we need this season. Go over there and light it up. Make a name for yourself, and you'll find a landing spot somewhere else, maybe in the league. It could be a whole lot of different things. But at the end of the day, he's still a Detroit contract. It leaves the door open, like you said, and he's going to go play some minutes on a team that's not as deep with defense like the Griffins and the Red Wings are currently.
Yeah,
And
the what?
there's no hard
Oh,
feelings again between any of them, whatever way it shakes out. It sucks for McIsaac. Injuries kept without injuries, we don't know what he really could have been. You know, he could be sitting in the same spot as like a Justin Hall or a Olimata or Jeff Petrie. Like he could be in that bottom three or the bottom two in Detroit though. Like it's a reality with how well he played before he got injured, how everything just slowed down his development. You pair injuries with a shortened COVID season, like the poor guy's been through it all. So hopefully he can get something together over there. And who knows, maybe he just comes back and he's a rock star. So we'll just wait and see. And we'll keep, it gives us a reason to pay attention to the Swiss League for the rest of the season, I guess.
But the one thing that I do want to mention, so he is arbitration eligible, restricted free agent after the season. So chances are he's probably been told he's not going to qualify.
That kind of tells the story, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so
are you, like, you can picture that conversation. Are you going to keep me buried here in Grand Rapids and watching games in the press box, or can you send me somewhere? Doesn't matter where. Don't care where. That I'm going to get some minutes in and can at least showcase my skills and maybe gain interest from another team. But that's it for roster moves this week. I didn't think we'd have a segment on that this early in the season, but I figured that was a summer topic. But here we are. It's not Pontus Andreasen or anything like that, at the end of the season. It just happened middle of the season. But best of luck to Nolan, and hopefully Jared can get his game back there, and who knows what'll happen. But with that being said, I think it's time for an ad break. What do you think?
Yeah, we got to do it this week.
Oh, no. All right, we'll send it over to DraftKings, and when we come back, it's Toledo Thursday time.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. With Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat all back and ready from the All-Star game, you've got good choices to make bets on them. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code THPN. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code THPN. The crowd is yours. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help available for problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Will Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. cdkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
And welcome back. It's time to dive into our new segment, Toledo Thursdays. So the Walleye had back-to-back games against their arch enemy at this point.
Rival.
Like,
yeah,
this is crazy that we're even saying that these two teams are like this right now, and that the Toledo Walleye struggled to play against the Kalamazoo K-Wings. Like, no offense to Kalamazoo, but like, when you think of what you think of the Toledo Walleye right now, you think of them on just this other tier of ECHL hockey with the offense that they can produce. Yet they've just lost their season series to Kalamazoo.
This team just continually has our number.
I don't know if it was, that they got two. We don't forget that there was 2 preseason games that the Walleye got. They were both against the K-Wings as well. So there's a long season history between these two teams at this point. It's crazy. But let's dive into it here. So Friday night, down in T-Town, the Walleye taking on the K-Wings. And this was a close one, man. Kalamazoo came out and scored 2 goals. God, a minute apart in the first. And then Toledo gets one on the board, 13 minutes in the first. It was goal Sam Craggs' 23rd of the season.
Jeez.
But before the end of the first, Kalamazoo gets another one. And you're just like, okay, hold on here. They're down 3-1 already in the first period against the K-Wings. Where have we seen this before? Almost half the other K-Wings games they've played this season. But second period, Hawkins, man, gets his 25th of the season. It's crazy that Craggs is catching him. Craggs is only 2 goals behind Brandon Hawkins.
Maybe Brandon Hawkins is getting slow in his older age. Craggs is really coming up.
I don't think Hawk's slowing down at all. That's the crazy part. He's still got an insane amount of points. He's got 57 points on the season in 45 games. Craggs is 44 and 45. He's catching up, though. I'll take it.
It's crazy.
But it's wild. But with that, Hawk gets his, go to the third period. Bliss gets his 15th of the season. He's really, really found his footing in Toledo this season. It's pretty darn impressive. He comes up here and he'll get a few points here and there. He's not the offensive powerhouse in Grand Rapids like he is in Toledo. Hopefully, maybe one day that'll translate. But dude is killing it right now. And game winner, 18 minutes, 42 seconds into the third. Keenan gets his 18th of the season with Craggs assisting on that one as well, getting another point there. And the Walleye end up coming out of this game winning 4-3. It's a close one, but they get the win. The weirdest part is Toledo, 34 shots on goal. Kalamazoo only 22. So John Letherman goes 19 for 22 in this game. Again, not anything really crazy impressive. His numbers have been okay. It's no 40 shots against. Thank God. Thank God they put a stop to that with this game. But man, another close one. And
Yeah, the common theme with it's funny to watch all three teams now is like the Walleye, Grand Rapids, and Wings, and you see the same problems throughout all three teams. Grand Rapids has been able to do a pretty good job of starting on time, but the Walleye just the first period they just send it in. I guess they're kind of maybe they're more on their heels of like trying to figure out the other team. I don't know, but like again, this team starts slow. They get punched in the face, and then they figure out how to put it together, um, and they get this one in overtime, or sorry, late in the game.
yeah, I mean, it should be noted as well. We talked about it with the Griffins in tonight's game in Cleveland. Toledo goes 0 for 4 on the power play in this one. Kalamazoo goes 1 for 2. Like, still, the Toledo Walleye do win this game. They win it by 1, but going 0 for 4 on the power play at home?
Yeah,
So out of character for this team. Like, we'll dive into that more. Let's get into Saturday's game. Saturday, the Fish head up to Kalamazoo. It's Kalamazoo's pink ice night. That ice was pink, man. It was
very big.
like I've seen like they do the colored ice before, and you see like at least the blue lines etched out, the center lines etched out. So you can see all those. Pink ice, it's just the goal creases and the blue line. Everything else is invisible. They just go all in, and it was super weird. The Walleye wearing their whites. Kalamazoo had some like black jerseys they were wearing in this one, I don't think they were black. I think they were like dark blue, but from the camera view, it looked black. They really popped on that pink ice, man. You could see every move they were making. But all I can imagine that anytime a Walleye player fell down is there's just a pink streak on that jersey somewhere. Like it's crazy. But yeah, Bednar gets the start in this one. And just like in Toledo, well, not just like in Toledo, but first period goes by, shots tied 9-9, goals 0-0. Pretty clean first period for the Walleye, but a really slow start. Like you just talked about, they usually come out really fast and they go for it. It was kind of slow in this one. Kalamazoo gets the only goal of the second period, and then Toledo finally turns it on in the third. Trenton Bliss gets his 16th of the season, back-to-back nights with goals for Bliss there. Love to see that. Kalamazoo does come back, though, about 5 minutes later. He gets another one, takes the lead again. And then Oren Centazzo gets his 16th of the season on a really weird goal where the goaltender's got to tend the goal, man. It happens. It happens. And that's it for regulation in this one. They go to overtime. We are in the middle of following a crazy Grand Rapids weekend, back-to-back overtimes, back-to-back shootouts for Grand Rapids. And I remember looking down at my phone at the game on Saturday night going, you got to be kidding me. Toledo's doing it too. So they go to overtime, and unfortunately, 1 minute and 59 seconds into this one, Kalamazoo takes the W. Toledo gets a point. So to be able to take 3 points from Kalamazoo, I guess, is a positive with how they've played against them this season. But they do drop this one. Kalamazoo wins the season series. And Toledo goes home confused, I think. I think all the fans go home confused. I'm confused. It's weird. The funny part when I look at the stat sheet for this game is like I'm used to seeing ECHL games, especially between these two teams, and you look at the penalties sheet, and you see a little bit of a lengthy list. There was 2 penalties in this entire game. One on Toledo, one on Kalamazoo. Nothing else. No coincidental roughings, no fighting, nothing. There was a cross-checking penalty and a tripping penalty. That was it. So without watching this game in full outside of highlights, I can only assume the refs let them play. But it should be noted, Toledo's one power play opportunity did not convert. 0 for 6 on the weekend. Again,
It's
out of character.
Yeah, this was actually a game that I had circled. I wanted to go to this game. I wanted to take Maria to because it was pink ice night. So I thought it was kind of cool. I've never seen the colored ice yet, and I'm sure she hasn't either. But we watched the highlights, and yeah, you're right that it was very pink, and the goal creases were very white or very like white and blue. Like you could really tell. Um, but it's so weird. I don't know why Toledo. I don't know if they're starting to figure out how to play Kalamazoo, and that's why like they're getting closer. I don't know. I feel like this team should be more of a rivalry than what you probably see with the other teams in Ohio. But very odd to see. Uh, but they're still like at the top of their division, right?
That's what I was gonna say here. Is like
Like
they are still number 1 in the Central, but
is the Central that
Wheeling's
weak?
catching up. No, not by any means. Central's definitely not. I mean, I just look. I mean, I'm just going to base this off of one stat when I look at it. In the top 2 teams in the Central and their goal differential: Toledo 188 to 146, and then Wheeling 164 to 132. Like those top 2 teams they're kind of wagons, man. But you look at the whole conference, and Toledo's still third in the West. Wheeling's right behind them there. You got Idaho and Kansas City ahead of them. You got Indy's catching up to Wheeling. They're 4 points behind. But I mean, I say the standings every episode we talk about Toledo, and they haven't really moved. It's just kind of stayed stagnant. But the teams behind them are catching up. I mean,
Yeah,
you got to look
Wheeling's
at the
on a
Walleyes
roll.
past 10 games here, and this is what's important when you talk about Toledo is they're 3-3, 2-2 in their last 10 games. That's not
Okay.
anything like what we've talked about recently. Like, yes, they have a 6-game point streak going, just like Grand Rapids has a 10-game point streak going. But I don't know, with what we expected going into the season, the past couple weeks have been rough. And hopefully it's just a little, it's a little rough patch. Like we say rough, but they're still third in the Western Conference. Like they're still leading their division. If the Griffins were doing this right now, we'd be screaming from the top of the roofs, Like,
Oh yeah.
but the standard in Toledo this season is set at a new level. Like
Yeah.
the expectations for this team are championship or nothing. And as we dive more and more into this, luckily, we have a great friend down in Toledo, Travis, there, who's been helping us out with the coverage of this team, giving us notes and everything. But the more and more we pay attention to this, like this is going to get intense, and it'll be really interesting to see how one of the youngest teams in the ECHL handles that pressure as we get towards the postseason here. Because you do have to remember, this is extremely young for an ECHL team.
That's so crazy. Like I don't know. Like I we need to sit down and we need to circle a game to be able to go out to Toledo to the bank take, but uh it's not real enticing right now. Like, with the way that they're playing and the streak that they're on. So I mean maybe
I
we
wouldn't
just
say
need
it's not
to
enticing. It's always enticing to go to the bank tank. I mean, we do love that place. But I get what you're saying. I mean, well, hey,
to
our
miss a
first ever
Griffins
game there
game.
was a loss. Like,
Yeah.
we've only ever been there once, and they did lose in the shootout in that one. So it's unfortunate, but I don't know, man. It's weird. We do need to find a game for sure. But it is just weird when I look at this and I look at their roster, man. It's young, but it's strong. It's filled with a lot of talent. And I don't know. Hopefully they can figure it out here. I mean, goaltending hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been great, and they definitely need to figure it out there on that end. But I think it's going to come down to team defense, and it's a lot of what we've seen in the past with Toledo. A lot of offense, but the opponent's opportunities to go the other way are usually odd man rushes, and we see it in Grand Rapids here as well. You talk about Dan Watson set up with the team; it's about the same thing. You get a lot of odd man rushes, but the offense at the same time is kind of suffocating, and they can go in there and do a lot of damage really quickly. Look at what we do in the third period here. And when I talk also about Toledo being, one of the youngest teams, they're the 10th youngest team in the ECHL with an average age of 25.21 years old. Kalamazoo is actually the oldest average team in the ECHL. But I mean, overall, again, they're still first in their division. They're third in the conference. If the sky's not falling, they will figure it out. And if there's any team with like a core group of leadership on the ice, not just on the bench, but on the ice that can figure this out, it's the Toledo Walleye. I mean, the guys that they have there to lead this team deep into the playoffs, they're the right guys there. Hawkins himself is gonna be the leader on this team. This team needs, and I don't think, unless I've missed something, Toledo is still not named a captain this season. They are still rolling with 4 A's, and from the outsider's perspective, again, we don't watch every single game. We try our best, but the Brandon Hawkins not wearing that C on his chest yet, I do not understand.
Somebody's got to pull this team out. They got to pull them out of this funk. I mean, I think this is probably where Pat's trying to figure out who's going to do it. Who's going to grab these guys and by the collar and say, hey, we got to wake up. We're on this weird streak. And it's not like last year at this time, there was a lot of movement between Grand Rapids and Toledo. We were sharing a lot of players back and forth right around this time. Injuries were happening. Toledo was signing guys off the street, it was crazy. I'm like, where do they come from? Like, where do these guys come from? But the local beer league, I don't know. But like
a lot of really young college kids, man, that hadn't played a pro game yet.
Yeah, like this team seems like the core is still there. Everybody's like clicking. It's just something's not meshing. I don't know what it is. It's odd. It's odd to go. They built up such a great like big lead at the beginning of the season, and to now like hopefully they're not getting that chipped away, because I know Wheeling has won 12 straight. So I mean they cut the division lead to 5. It's getting close. They need to start paddling again, I guess.
Swimming upstream.
They need to start swimming. Yeah, it's odd. I mean, I was hoping to catch them when they were in Kalamazoo, but Maria was on call, so I'm going to throw her on the bus. And didn't get called into work. So hopefully we can make our trip to T-Town.
Smartest guy ever to throw his girlfriend under the bus on a podcast, so she'll definitely hear.
Yeah, right before Valentine's Day.
Way to go. Way to go.
Wait, this will come out after, so we're good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. You're good. It's in the clear. It happened before when it didn't.
Right.
I need the ting noise they use for Josh's wink every time at the Griffins right there. It's weird too. Like I say, Toledo is lost the season series to Kalamazoo. They still have games against Kalamazoo coming up. They play them this Saturday. They play Cincinnati in Cincinnati on Friday, and then Kalamazoo in Kalamazoo on Saturday.
But they lost the series. Like, there's just no way for them to come back to get that.
I know. That's what's unfortunate. I think, just a very quick glance at the schedule, there's this game, and then there's 2 more games against Kalamazoo. There's 1 more at home, 1 more away for this season for them. But there's a guy I want to talk about in this team, which we've already talked about him once tonight. But, we talk about the plus-minus stat, and, it's not an end-all, be-all stat. It's not the best stat. But when there's an outlier, it should be recognized, right?
Yeah.
In a positive light here, Sam Craggs, when you're talking about offense, right? Second in scoring on the team. Usually when you have that, there's a downside on the defense, right? You usually see, like on the Griffins, some of our top scorers are usually like a +1 or 2, or they're a -1 or 2, or a -4, depends on what it is. Sam Craggs, with his 44 points, so 23 goals, 21 assists, is a +21 on the team, with the next closest person being a +15. That's a defenseman.
Wow.
Like, the breakout season this guy has had this year for this team. Like, he was kind of like a mid-range offensive player last year for them. We had his brother here in Grand Rapids at one point. And Sam wasn't one of the ones we saw even make a sniff in Grand Rapids. And I mean, looking at stats last year, okay, you can see why, but this year you're like, holy smokes, kid! Like, +21 and 44 points in 45 games. That's some pretty darn impressive stat. And only 22 penalty minutes on the season in the ECHL. Like, talk about a responsible player. Not just, generating offense, but he's playing smart on each side of the puck. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I wonder
Yeah,
what's happened with him. How old is Sam?
it's 27. He's in a little bit of the older side there, unfortunately. Um, but
That's
I
odd.
mean, I know it's weird because like you look at his stats over the years. Again, not a bad player in any season by any means, but with 60 games last year with the Walleye, he had 20 points. In 45 this year, he has 44 points. Like this is his career. This is his career high points in any league or team he's played with, at least from what Elite Prospects tells me. So, like, I would love to know what happened. I mean, he's on pace right now for 71 points this season.
That's a lot.
When his highest career points from literally from playing under 16 hockey to now, from what I can see tracked, was 28 points. He's on
Jeez.
pace for 71. Insanity is all that is. Insanity. Like the turnaround there, Toledo cannot be happier with what this kid has done this season. He could not put a puck or a point up for the rest of the season, and he still had a successful season at this point.
Oh yeah.
It's wild.
I wonder what's changed. I wonder what
Well,
Pat
I
did.
mean, you probably spend a good amount of time with Brandon Hawkins. It'll help.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't playing with Hawk last year, as far as I know, at least this much. So that will help, but at the same time, it's not just one guy making the difference there. I mean,
Did he
there's
play
something special
3-on-3?
about him this year. Ooh, Sam?
Yeah.
No,
Did
he
he play
didn't do
3
that
on?
3 ice.
Yeah.
Hawk did the 3 ice tournaments in the summer, but Sam didn't. Yeah, man, it's wild, absolutely wild. And just a reminder too that Brandon Hawkins is on pace for 91 points this season.
Jesus.
And that would only be 10 points higher than what he got last year.
This team is so weird. Like, I wonder what's going on.
I love the ECHL, man. It's a wild place. It's so much fun. I wish we could get more in depth with this team sometimes because the ECHL, if you don't follow it closely, you should just follow the Twitter page of the Walleye, and you'll be impressed. Like the goals some of these guys can score are incredible, and not even to mention that, like the goaltending we still see from some of these guys too. You know, like we said, this is an off year for Lethman in comparison to last season. But Jan Bednar, I mean, still, he's 2.97 goals against and .887 save percentage. That's not as good as it was last time we talked. But at the same time, he's been playing well. I mean, Lethman 3.09 goals against and a .886 save percentage. That's just so not even close to what he was near last year. I really wish I knew the difference there. That's where I'm like, that's the biggest difference on this team. It's
Yeah.
the goaltending, honestly.
Goaltending.
And defense. I mean, at the same time. That's all we hear from our Toledo friends is, oh, we need defense. If you got an extra one up in Grand Rapids, send them down, you know. Like,
Well, we
we've talked
did.
about it before. You did when we took him right back.
We don't have much now, yeah.
And they can't have him back. They can't have Tua back.
Oh, I wasn't talking about Tua. I was talking about Vero or McIsaac or anybody else that's been buried right now.
I mean,
But
honestly.
I don't understand why they haven't sent these guys down to like get them some playing time. The team, it's the same system. It's the same. Get them some playing time.
Well, we don't know
Help.
if Vero is still injured. We don't know.
That. Yeah, that's
He
fair.
potentially could be. When he comes back, could I see that happening? 100%. And I think Toledo fans we'd hear him screaming from up here. Like, they really want him back. And he played extremely well for them. He was a fun watch down there. You just think about guys that we lost in the shuffle, like Seth Barton, who played extremely well in Toledo as well. Like, I don't know what he's up to. I'm not going to go dig for his stats right now, but like, can he come back to Toledo too? That would be fun. But there's one thing I wish I really wouldn't have pulled up, and it was the comparison to John Lethman's stats from last year to this year. Do you want to know?
Yeah, go ahead. You got them up.
26 games played with the Walleye last year, not including the playoffs. He was a 1.99 goals against and a .930 save percentage. And this year, he's 3 games less than what he played last season, and he's at a 3.09 goals against and a .886 save percentage.
So it sounds like he's playing more this year than he was last year, and maybe he's got more of a
Correct.
burnout.
Which is weird because this is the part of the season last year where it started to really split between him and Sebastian Kosa.
Yeah.
And they've split between Jan Bednar and Lethman all season. So it's weird. Something don't add up there.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder because Red Wings goaltending coach was spending a lot of time in Toledo last year. Is he not spending a lot of time in Toledo this year?
That is an interesting question because, yeah, I wonder if that's the key right there, which is weird because Lethman's under a Wings contract.
He is. But yeah, I think the question mark around the development and the goaltending coach side of things that was getting exposed to John Lethman last year to not this year. Again, we don't know, but I can only assume that the Red Wings goalie staff's not spending as much time in Toledo this season. Their interests are not there. They're in Grand Rapids right now, unfortunately. Sorry to Lethman and Bednar. Not that Bednar is not somebody to keep a close eye on still for down the road possibilities, but he's someone that could end up in Grand Rapids at some point. So for us, he's a very crucial piece to pay attention to. But I would love to know the answer to that question. That's when I think after saying that out loud, unfortunately, Toledo fans are going to start going, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, where's
that
Bob?
makes sense." Yeah. So I don't know. With that, though, like I said, the Toledo Walleye have 2 games coming up this weekend, Cincinnati and Kalamazoo. Hopefully, they can just jump into their winning ways here. We need another, 9-1 game. Those are way more fun to talk about than these close games or these losses. I need some more of those in my life. I know that's not realistic to always have, but they're more fun. Outside of that, man, anything else on the Walleye from you?
No, nothing more on the Walleye. That's an interesting point to bring up at the end. Like, where is
Yeah,
Bob
if you
Boughner?
stuck around this long to listen to that, now you can scratch your head too and go, "Huh, what do you know?" But thank you again, as always, Travis, for updating us and keeping us updated on the Walleye. We appreciate you, sir. And yeah, looking forward to another weekend. I'll have some time to hopefully watch one of the Walleye games this weekend. So we'll see what happens. So anything else you want to talk about tonight, sir, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's pivot real quick to the NHL. So
Is that a Friends reference that had a Friends night this weekend?
well, just bring your friends and we can talk all about it. This is some crazy. Like, the world of hockey was nuts this week. And we're not even going to touch on one of the bigger subjects from yesterday.
On Saturday night, in case you missed it, an Ottawa Senators player decided to absolutely blast a puck into the Toronto Maple Leafs empty net, and it caused division between all hockey fans. No, it caused Morgan Riley to lose control of his thought process and go cross-check this player into the head. And that's not okay. We saw Perron do it when he got upset about Larkin, and we all agreed that he overreacted there. Morgan Riley doing this is an overreaction as well. And, well, he is getting some time for that one. He's suspended for 5 games. And Perron's was 5 games as well, right?
Yeah, 5 games. I know he argued against it, but I think they still gave him 5. Because by the time
They
they
haven't
got
even
to it,
actually processed the appeal for his yet. It's still in limbo. For him
Perron's
to get paid for it, yeah. For him to get
Oh.
paid for those 5, that appeal still has not been reviewed by the league.
Jesus.
But so he got 5 games for that. And when you think about the situation, yes, it was an innocent bystander. When he turned around, he saw this guy standing over his captain who's unconscious on the ice, and his wires crossed, and he boom, headshot. Morgan Riley got his feelings hurt and did the same thing and got the same time. I think he should have been 6.
I think it should have been more. I mean, for him to empty net, like, slap shot it in. I like it. I think it's funny. I think it's funny. I hate that it was Ottawa versus Toronto to do it. That's the part that I hate. I'm okay with Morgan Riley like going after him, punching him. Not okay about cross-checking to the head. Like he could have taken care of it a little differently. But yeah, I think he should have got more games because it was targeted, right? And but at the same point, like the players are going to govern themselves, and he did what he stood up for his team. He got his feelings hurt. So to me, I thought the whole situation was funny.
I thought it was too because I hate both teams. I hate one more than the other for sure. But to see them both just kind of have a meltdown like that, like it was pretty funny to me. And yeah, I mean now Toronto is without one of their, if not their best defensemen for the next 5 games. Ooh,
which is good for us.
It was great for us, but at the same time, like the clip I saw that went around afterwards was, of course, they had to interview Ryan Reeves about this and ask what his thoughts on it. And he's like, what do you expect him to do? Go play patty cake with him? Like, no, I expect him to go hit him, but not a cross check to the head.
Right.
Like, it's just another example of Ryan Reeves, like, just justifying cross checks and hits to the head. Like, just garbage. For a guy that's played maybe a handful of games this year and has less hits on anyone than Elias Pettersson does.
Jesus.
It's a lot of talk coming from a guy who hasn't really done much this year when he was brought into that team to be that guy. And yeah, funny enough, but even funnier than that whole situation happening, our friends at Everything Hockey decided to make the Empty Netter Slap Shot shirt, and they had it out and available for purchase already. This whole thing happened within like 6 hours, so they don't screw around. And also, you can go order that shirt and wear it in front of your Toronto Maple Leafs friends and make them even more upset. Make sure you use code WEST when you do it. You get 10% off the hoodie. Definitely worth your time doing that.
You could also get it in Toronto Blue. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see. I love them so much.
Somebody asked for it, and they go, "You can request it. It'll be available."
Everything Hockey, not just great partners, but fantastic trolls too. We love you guys. Thank you. I was so mad that they came out too because I definitely remember I told you I had ordered from them more. I screwed up that order and it never went through. So I eventually put that order through. I put it through yesterday at 6:00. That hoodie was available at 8. I was like, dang it. I would have gotten one in Toronto Blue and wore it next time we interviewed Tyler.
I'm trying to save for jerseys. The big jerseys are coming up, so I cannot buy any hoodies right now.
Some big Griffins jerseys coming up. I'm pretty excited about that. We'll talk about those more later. But with that, you have anything else you want to talk about today, sir? Are you ready for bed?
Ready for bed. Bring your friends to Friday's game. See the couch. Sit on the couch. Can you sit on the couch?
I don't know. It's Friends night on Friday is what he was trying to say.
They did it
the Friends couch
year.
will be in the arena. If it'll be on the ice, we don't know.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to grab a hat, so hopefully somebody can grab me a hat. I might trade a Toasters jersey for a hat and mug if somebody got it.
Serious offer, folks. He's being serious. I saw that look on his face. The Friends hat is cool. I'll give him that. But yeah.
You will?
Friends couch will be in the arena. What?
You're gonna give me yours?
It's not my style of hat, honestly, so I probably would. If you ask really nicely. My style of hat is more like this, this nice Tigers hat. Had to rep the Tigers today. Pitchers and catchers report tomorrow. So baseball season's around the corner here as well, which means spring's around the corner, which means playoff hockey's around the corner. And both of our teams are in playoff positions as we speak right now. It's a great day. It's a great way to end this episode. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Thursday episode. We appreciate everyone. Appreciate the Hockey Podcast Network for being great partners. Appreciate DraftKings and Everything Hockey for being amazing sponsors. Thank you to
our Patreon listeners, Michael Asante and Randy Zick.
Yes, thank you guys. And thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate all of you.
I want to do one shout out to my mom. It was her birthday. I think she started 40.
Happy birthday, Nick's mom. Everyone drop that in the comments. No, your mom jokes. Just happy birthday, Nick's mom.
Yep.
Well, with that, everybody have a fantastic weekend. Go Griffins, go Wings, go Walleye. We will talk to y'all on Monday.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.